Hi, what are you said you should all be smarter. We don't know how could be smarter. We don't know anything about how to improve intelligence, and I suppose that we don't really know anything about how to improve intelligence either. But I can tell you that people who just come up with a strategy for solving the problem that's ahead of them. If you want to know something about yourself, sit on your bed one night and say to yourself, you got to be in this, like you got to be this bright, there's no game in this. What's one thing I'm doing wrong? That no, I'm doing wrong. That good first. That good first. You may turn that you will answer, and it won't be one you want, but it will be necessary one. In this video, we'll explore some of his best kept secrets for maximizing focus and achieving long-term success, so that you can study smarter, not harder. Nathan tell people to fix the thing you repeat every day. Cause people tend to think of those are trivial, right? You get up, you brush your teeth, you have your breakfast, you have your routines that you go through every day, where those probably constitute 50% of your life. And people think well they money and don't need to pay attention to them. No, that's likely no. Exactly wrong. The things you do every day, those are more important things you do. Hands down. All you have to do is really automatic. We make an average of 35,000 decisions every single day, which can eventually lead to decision fatigue. A style of mental overload that can impede a person's ability to continue making decisions. As my colleague Dr. Lisa McClain explained, the more decisions you have to make, the more fatigue you develop and the more difficult it can become. This mental exhaustion can lead to poor choices, procrastination, or even tendency to avoid decisions altogether. One effective way to reduce decision fatigue is by simplifying daily routines, such as planning meals in advance, maintaining a consistent wardrobe, or establishing structural habits. Additionally, breaking down complex choices into smaller, manageable steps can make decision-making feel less overwhelming, helping individuals conserve mental energy for more important tasks. I can tell you that people who nurture come up with a strategy for solving the problem doesn't handle them, and then they do whatever they can do to stick the strategy. So, for example, if you sat down today, tomorrow, for a couple hours, 3 hours, and you fill in a Google Calendar, whatever you happen to use with a strategy for studying, and a list of whatever your assignment are due and all of that. And when you're going to sit down and study, then you won't be in a position where you have to cram for test hour a day, hopelessly, right before. An important exam. It is a very effective way of studying, by the way. I mean, first of all, people who cram for test hours say they're studying for test hour, but they really are because I can study for 10 hours. I don't have the powerful of concentration that will enable me to do that for that long length of time. I can measure about 3 hours of 10 intellectual activity before I'm ready done. As developed advances in human neuroscience found that by learning, where study sessions are spread out over time, can be just as effective as math learning. This improves enhanced memory retention and recall by encoding information into long-term memory. Research consistently shows that students who spend out their studying perform better on assessment taken weeks later compared to those who cram. In addition to by learning, getting enough sleep plays a crucial role in learning and memory. According to the sleep foundation, sleep deprivation hinders the brain ability to create new pathways for recently learned information, making it harder to retain knowledge. And it's also the case that if you study and then sleep and then study and then sleep and then study and then sleep and then study, you space out, then you might be likely to remember. And there's so much more likely that you could more likely to remember if you try to recall the material, and so highlighting the sort of thing is not very useful when reading, closing the book, summarizing what you read without opening the book. That's useful. And the reason for that is that you're practicing remembering, and that's what you have to practice. If you're practicing memorization, you have to practice remembering. You don't just go over the thing over and over. That will help you with recognition memory, but it will help you with recall memory. The best thing you can do is Read and write every day. Couple hours every day. Write about things you find important and see if you can discover what you believe to be true. And that beautiful foundation. And that isn't believably practical. Research published by Jackson V. Wasta of Brigham University explore how reading literary fiction enhances our ability to understand others, a skill known as the theory of mind. This refers to the human capacity to recognize that others have beliefs and desires different from their own. In the study, participants were divided into groups and assigned in different reading materials. Afterward, they took a test measuring their ability to perceive others' emotions. The research showed that those who read literary fiction scored significantly higher than those who did not read at all. So what seems to happen in the story is that they distill. So they watch people watch people, and then they tell story about what they see, but leave it out of those story, everything that's boring, hopefully. And then more story about exciting things get sort of allocated, and then maybe a great writer come along and write something really interesting profile character transformations, and then you say well that's fiction, and then you say well that's not true, get efficient, but then no, maybe that's not right, maybe it's more than truth, because you want the truth. The truth is mundane reality, you already got that message. What you want is the distillation of interesting experience. And you might think, well, interesting. Well, that says you don't know. That's the thing, that's so cool. When you think about behavior, you tend to think about voluntary behavior, but a motivational state will. Distant habits are activated depending on the situation, autonomic response. So, for example, when you when you food deprived and you start to think about food and start to organize your behavior toward as food as and to perceive the world that way your body also prepare for food. And so you want to think about motivated status micro personality. According to an article from Condition Today, titled The Scientific Truth Behind Fake It Till You Make It, mental imagery and actor perception say common neural circuits, so they have different firing dynamics. This phenomenon is explained by his law, which states that neurons that fire together wire together. In other words, if you do something in association with something else, the choices will interlink at a neural level. This principle highlights the brain's ability to strengthen neural connection through repetition and association. For example, if someone repeatedly visualizes themselves speaking confidently in public, their brain starts to reinforce the same neural pathways used in actual public speaking, potentially improving their real-life performance. Even when you're just walking to where you want to go, if you successfully walking there, your brain tracks what you're doing, the circuit that's activated while you're doing it, and if what you're doing result in the result you desire, then the dopamine flush those little neurons that are active and make them grow and flourish. And so, as you practice something that's working, the circuit that is activated as you're practicing is by feeding dopamine, and that makes you stronger. As focus is growth. It's part of positive motion. And so the positive motion move you forward, but also encourage you to develop a habit of that practice. And so one of the things I would really will say is don't make a habit of pursuing things that are good for you, because you build that into that. What's happened if you become an addicted to something? You build a little monster inside you. That goal is there is after one goal, despite everything else. Not a good outcome. In order to withstand suffering, let's say your life has to have some meaning. Okay, well, that's mean a bunch of things. This mean that part of ways that you overcome of suffering is by making the suffering into something meaningful. I don't mean that metaphysically, I mean it technically. You understand? Because suffering, you learn something about it's not missing again. And it's studied on aversive writing with 250 participants. Researchers found that those encourage you to embrace discomfort, felt with a sense of achievement. And women literature encourage aggressive challenge to their daily life, compared to those who were simply instructed to focus on the task. But saving negative disappearance aside by side process is particularly motivating when both the investment or delay and discomfort is immediate. It's life is suffering and this is like why learn something? Cut you wrong. Who care? It make you suffer. You care. So if you are on a little scheme in the world, little action person, you don't get what you want. If you especially if you choose your burden to chase and cry. And why does? Because you don't know what you do. You don't what you're doing. It's like time for sending negative emotion. It's indicate that you're wrong, and that's terrible in some sense because it's always mean us to learn requires pain. Now I don't believe that exactly because people are curious, and to go out and be curious and to learn new things can be very exciting, and so ultimately you can benefit from the possibilities which are big overwhelming by the unexpected and lemon of it. You can tell what's happening in this one of the coolest thing as far as I'm concerned.